Hello, everyone, and time to get ready for the first lab of the semester. So, we're going to be starting off strong with one of the most classic of chemistry topics. We're going to ferment some stuff. One of the things to be aware of in this week is some of the things that you're going to need to do before class. So, again, every week we need to go ahead and start with some things. Big things reading is make sure you cover chapters 1 and 3 through 5 on your MORIG. So again, these are mostly going to be on basic lab protocol. Also, make sure you look at your assigned lab manual sections. So this is going to specifically be talking about general safety information. But again, one of the big things I want you to focus in on is experiment 1, because that's what we're going to be doing this week, and that should be linked on Canvas. All right, so first thing you need to do is we're also going to need to watch some stuff. So most specifically, this video. Congratulations, you're already doing that. But don't forget, we also need a couple of quick pre-lab assignments. So don't forget, you need to, in your lab manual, answer the questions to consider from your lab manual, as well as you need to prep your pre-lab. Also, don't forget on Canvas, there's going to be a pre-lab quiz. So that's going to be based on all of the content in the Assemble Content Week 1 page on Canvas. And again, don't forget, you need to write up all of your pre-lab notebook information. So again, see the manual directions under, I believe it's Appendix 5. Then, if you haven't already done it, please make sure to finish syllabus quiz. I believe that is due at the end of the day on Monday. Always better to get it done beforehand. All right, so once we actually get into class, big expectations for this week are going to be relatively straightforward. So first thing we're going to be doing is just sitting down in the chem lounge. So take a seat at one of the various desks in there. If you haven't been there, it's set up right in front of the projector. First thing I'm going to be doing is just rehashing my course expectations. Then I'm going to have everybody break into small groups for a writing exercise. So this is going to be really focusing on how you write your lab procedures and your method sections. So again, I'm not expecting a great job this week as long as you have the major elements. But specifically some of the details of how writing in chemistry can be different from writing in other disciplines. And if you have some time, any point in this, do try and find the correct size of your lab coat if you haven't already done so. Then, at the end of this exercise, I'm going to assign what sugar or starch source you're going to be using for your fermentation. So again, we're going to be turning starches into ethanol. And so we're going to be doing this with a set of amylase solution. Once I've assigned you your starch, you're going to be off to the lab for check-in. So once we're there, big thing we're going to have to do is you're going to be checking into your drawer. So again, I will assign you to one of these sets of drawers underneath a corresponding hood. Again, we're going to be a little full, so you're probably going to have to share a hood with somebody else. Once you've checked in, either me or one of the TAs will go ahead and quickly sign you off, and you're going to be preparing your fermentation slurry from the directions written in your notebook. So to do this, what you're going to be doing is first you're going to clean your Erlenmeyer with a little isopropyl to remove any bacteria, and then you're going to go ahead and dry it off. Once you do so, you're going to go ahead and obtain a dry mass. Then you're going to mix together your assigned slurry. And one of the big things here is then you're going to want to secure a balloon over your flask. Now, we're doing this essentially for two key reasons. So the first of all, fermentation doesn't go quite so well when it's in an oxygen-rich environment. So by putting the balloon, we make it anoxic, which will favor fermentation generating ethanol. The other side process is that, as you kind of see here, fermentation will tend to produce a lot of CO2 gas. And so when we have the balloon over there, you will go ahead and see kind of how much gas your solution has generated. So that means that next week, before you even do your distillation, you should have a rough idea of how successful your fermentation was based on how much CO2 is produced. And again, one of the big things I want you to do is make sure to record any observations as you go. Note if you make any little small mistakes, have to reduce anything, use a little bit different mass or volume than you have in your notebook. And again, in your notebook, leave room for those recorded observations. Now, one of the other big things is since we're going to be leaving our fermentation solution in the back of the hood, I want to make sure that you're used to writing good chemical labels. So again, anytime you leave something in the lab, you should always make sure that it should be clearly labeled. So the following information should be on all of your solutions, especially ones that you're going to be not actively attending to. So the first thing is you need to have your name. So I know, so everybody knows whose solution it is. You want to identify what it is, especially as we move later in the semester where you may have multiple containers going. So for example, I might be using a potato starch fermentation. So in this case, I want to identify that it's potato starch, not cornstarch or something else. Then you need to go ahead and say which section it's part of. So either you can write this out as a full Thursday afternoon, or if you have limited space on your tape, you can go ahead and use some sort of abbreviation. That way, if everybody knows immediately what section you have to go to find the corresponding person. And again, what date it was prepared. That way people know how long it's been sitting out, because sometimes somebody may drop the class after the first week, and we want to know how long it's been there. Also, there should be lab tapes and markers available for you in the lab so that you can label these solutions. And again, make sure to record your exact label as you wrote it in your notebook so you know what to look for. So for example, this would be an example of a solution that I may have prepared of a potato starch mix. Say I'm part of the Tuesday lab and the date I prepared it. All right, so once you've done all of that, should be a fairly quick lab. You're going to want to go ahead and take notebook scans of exactly what you did in lab. So again, you can go ahead and do this using a PDF converter on your phone. Take those PDFs and upload these to Canvas by Friday. I highly encourage you do it as soon as you're done with lab, maybe even while you're still in lab. That way you go ahead and won't forget about it later and don't get dinged points. Now, always a good reminder what you need to do for next week. So we have a couple of extra chapters here because next week we're going to be diving in to distillations. So you're going to need to know how to handle the correct heating elements for that. And again, make sure before you start in for next week, you go ahead and review the second half of this experiment, specifically the distillation component. All right, sounds good. And I will see you in lab.